Another edition of Industry Conversations 101. Tonight, I have a very special guest, one of my favorite pioneers, female MCs of hip hop, Sweet T. How are you, my
I'm good.
dear?
How are you?
I am good. I'm good. I'm so happy to have you on the show tonight. I know we're going to have a great conversation,
Yes.
about hip hop in general. And I just want to get in, just jump and dive into the conversation. How did you obtain the name Sweet Tea?
Wow. Back in the days when everybody was getting their little AKAs together, it just, my name is Toy. So, Sweet Tea just kind of evolved from that. And, everybody had a name that had to have a name to put on their shirt.
Yeah.
So, Sweet Tea just came came.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And you're exactly right because back in the day, we used to do all these little cheers in the yard, and it was one part of a cheer that we would do. And I would say Sweet Tea because, like I said, I grew up listening to you. I used to see you on Yo MTV Raps, and I could identify. I was like, wow, she looked just like me, beautiful, dark skin, beautiful skinned woman. And I mean, it was awesome. I loved your flow. I loved the way you represented yourself. So yeah, so definitely you were one of my favorites, MCs
Thank
growing up.
you so
And
much. Thank you
yeah,
so much.
and yeah, especially with you growing up in Queens, there's so much speculation about where hip hop originated.
Yeah.
But growing up in Queens, how was the hip hop scene in Queens growing up in Queens back then?
It was just like a lot of energy,
Okay.
like a lot of birds. Like when you were in school, it was going on, like there was always like people being creative, and it was
Right.
just an exciting time. Like we didn't know that what was happening was going to be like this huge conglomerate that it is right there.
Yeah.
But we were just having fun. Like we really had fun.
Yeah, and just recently the infamous photo of the class of 1998 Queens of Hip Hop surfaced on several different media, websites. And the photo shoot is a classic photo shoot. It was you, MC Light, Roxanne Shante as well. And you're often forgotten in the conversation when it comes to who are the original queens of hip hop. And you are one of those pioneering queens. Like Roxanne Shante is missed a lot, according to even Sequence. The VH1 honors really, really hurt me because, you know, they did not give you your just due. I really felt that a lot was missing on the VH1 Queens of Hip Hop honor show, and you were just not giving your just due. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. That was something that like Queen Latifah put together. And when I tell you Queen Latifah had her team find me, I was there. They found me, like they searched for me. And finally the lawyers found me.
Wow.
Sweet Tea, we've been looking all over for you, and we finally got somebody. They got your phone number, and they called me. I was there. I was actually on stage at one point of it, and
Hmm.
you know, I'm gonna tell you one thing. Latifah always gives me my flowers. She always has. You know what I
That's
mean? So she
awesome.
made sure I was in the building for that.
Yeah.
Um, that I was on the stage at when all the women came out. I was definitely on stage then, and that was the kickoff show. I was hoping there would be more because I know
Yeah.
that Salt and Pepper and some of those
Hmm.
shows were the first on the list, but I
Right.
was hoping it would have caught on to maybe do more years and
Hmm.
um
And include
have
you
more.
all. Yeah,
Right, right.
and that's what I was expecting because it was just only that one show. So I was expecting, like they did the divas, the divas that were there was various series. So it was like they had more shows. But when it came to the Queens of Hip Hop, it was just only that one show. And I was like, well, there's
Yeah,
so many more pioneers
right,
that you all forgot.
right.
And I'm glad to hear that you were there because I
Mhm.
was looking for you. I was like, okay, where's my girl?
Mhm.
So it was just one of those things where I was saying to myself, because they just MC Shyrock just got her flowers. She really did just got it. She got her flowers, and I was happy to see that. And every time, when I do see Angie Stone and any type of interview she's in, she does speak of sequence and her contribution to hip hop
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So it's one of those things that where I really felt that there should be more to the story. Like, when we always you always hear the male point of view of how hip hop was originated, but they hardly ever talk about the female's contribution. And that leads me, to my next question. A lot of people
No, wait
forget
a minute
about.
though. I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna tell you something too though. That night, when all of the girls, I don't know if you remember the part when like all of us were on stage and we were all on
Yes.
stools.
Yes.
Latifah walked over to me and was like my hero on stage. But when they actually did the cut on the show, they Salt-N-Pepa walked out on stage. So they literally clipped it.
Oh
Oh,
no.
right. They literally clipped it. You can hear her saying it, but they clipped it and went to Salt-N-Pepa because that was the point when they were supposed to.
Oh wow.
But so, with that first show, I mean, I was honored to be there. I was
Yeah.
honored to make sure that she said, yo, she really wanted to make sure I was there. Latifah always bigs me up. She always, um, you know,
Yeah.
talks about me. And I
Yeah.
the end for that because she makes me feel really good about,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I love Latifah. I love her energy, and I'm so glad that she gives you your flowers consistently. So I love that. I love the camaraderie in her. I love her energy. I love her spirit, and I'm glad it was her that she has done that. And it's just like I said, moving on to my next question is, a lot of people forget about your first single, the one for the trouble, which started your career,
right.
and also that you work with Herbie Love. A lot of the early hip hop stars work with Herbie. And going on that, I mean, do you feel that female hip hop artists are literally overlooked in the hip hop industry?
Well, I don't think so. I just happened to have been with Idol Makers, which was the camp, Herbie, Herbie's camp, which was Kid and Play, Salt-N-Pepa,
Mm-hmm.
Dana, me, and for me to be on a team where one of the one with the strongest female rappers
Yes.
about, um, I was never made to feel a way like there was an issue with females because like Herbie was kicking down doors,
Yes, he
you know?
was.
He was kicking down doors, and um, if anything for me, I think I worked a whole lot. I worked a whole lot back then, you know, um, just being a consistent artist and just showing up, handling my business. So I didn't get to feel this um this real negative kind of thing. I really
Yeah.
didn't feel that. Where my problems came in was my labels, the
Mm.
labels that I was signed to. That's
Yeah.
where my problems came in and
Yeah.
at that time, I know even Herbie was frustrated. Um, and him being a young manager, entrepreneur, trying to move on,
Mhm.
and stuff like that, and keep things moving. It's like, what do you do? Because it was me, Dana Dane, Run DMC's, Special Ed, we were all stuck in these deals, and
Right.
that profile. So, he didn't know what to really do about that. And, that's where my issues came in, was with my
Yeah.
label.
Yeah, and speaking of that, because the labels, now they're doing these 360 deals and things of that nature, but they were doing shifty stuff back then. The industry has always been crazy since then. But even when we talk about mainstream success, because a label, just as you said, can make or break you, in other words. And you've had three well-known hits such as It's My Beat, Why Did It Have to Be Me, and also my favorite, On the Smooth Tip. So do you feel that, when it comes to labels, the promotion part of it, is that really, where, most of the problems come from, those that, where a lot of the artists don't really get, their just due because of some of the labels not promoting them properly.
And I don't, and for me with Profile, it was that he didn't have the vision.
Mm,
Run DMC had a team behind them. They had Russell. So regardless of what was going on at Profile Records, Russell moved them. You know what I mean?
right.
And they just didn't have the vision. You know what I mean? They
Mm,
didn't have the vision.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's where my problem came in with them
Yeah.
having a vision. Because I remember one night I came to the studio and Herbie said to me, "Listen, do me a favor. I need you to rhyme this record for me." He wrote it and everything. He said, "I need you to say it like this." So
Mm,
literally rhymed this record, and I sound like Salt and Pepper on the song.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I had 9 other records, and he mixed it in, and he sent the demo to Profile, and it didn't take them but 24, 48 hours to pick that one song out and say, "Yo, I want 9 more of those." And at
Wow.
he was like, okay, so now I see where his issue is. Like, they're not trying to be innovative with you. They just want
Hmm.
to cut what's already,
Yeah,
going.
like cookie cutter. Exactly. You know?
And so, I love Salt and Pepper. I love everything about what they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But there was definitely room for different styles
it was.
and I guess because we were both with Herbie, they wanted the same thing from him for me, the exact same thing. And he was like, "That's not who she is," you know.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And that was the thing. Even, I know you had a female DJ as well. And I always felt like, female DJs, that's like the source of empowerment, to me. And, I was happy to see that, because typically you would always see the male DJ, but to see female DJs rocking out with female MCs, that was more like inspiration, especially a little girl growing up and you seeing that like females can actually do it too, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But as for those 3 records, and I know you were speaking a little bit, how Herbie was telling you how to, rap those lyrics. Where did the inspiration come for those 3 songs? Because I loved On the Smooth Tip. Like, I loved it because it was the way how you would say it at the end, ooh, on the smooth tip. So I loved it. I loved that record. So where did the inspiration come from?
Well, back then everything was, looped, and you took the samples from records, and it was all about the feel. Like when I
Yeah.
heard that track, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, yo, and then, it was just a smooth record. And,
Right.
as a writer, it just like came out. You know what I mean? It just came
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
That's what
definitely.
sung to me. That's what it
Right.
made me feel like, so that was a pretty good song. I love that song.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I loved it. It make you want to dance, and it, like you said, it's a smooth record. So, with yourself being 30 plus years in the game, um, do you feel that hip hop has taken a turn thus far?
Taking a what?
Do you feel that hip hop has taken a turn? Has pretty much, basically astrayed a little bit?
No.
Gotcha.
I don't know. For me, um, it just grew. It evolved,
It
and
evolves.
that's what it evolved to. And
Okay.
um, it couldn't stay the same. We couldn't stay.
Gotcha.
We couldn't stay rhyming in the same cadence,
Mm.
the same beat. It couldn't stay the same. So I had to. So these a lot the new rappers out, like a lot of them are very creative.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
are.
and just like we were kind of talking about some of the things that were going on with us, like this is what they feel, this is what's happening with them, and I'm
Mm.
sure their mind is going to be blown when the next generation after them does whatever it is they do to, to
Yeah.
to make it different from what they're doing. So I mean,
Right.
it had to evolve. It just had to evolve.
Yeah, and
So
you know what? And I've heard that before, that that where it really can't stay the same, that it has to evolve. It has to evolve into something else. Like, it can't stay the same, because just as R&B, um and it dies out. Like, everyone was sticking to the same thing with R&B. Now R&B has evolved to something else, and it's where it moves along with the time. So I can definitely understand that. Like you said, it has to evolve to something else. But with that being said, do you feel that it is the same as regard to female hip hop artists? Because as hip hop evolved, um, there was so much, and I think Cardi B she said something today, actually, it just that was on social media that came out, where she was saying, it's so hard for females to get their respect, and in the hip hop industry. And I know how it was back then, like, everybody was having fun, but it's so hard for female, rappers to, or MCs to, basically get their respect that they're due. Because in this industry, and I'm pretty sure you are aware of it, you have some vultures where if you don't show enough skin, you don't look a certain way, the labels won't promote you, or even people won't buy, or it won't sell as much. And I remember, being told by so many, producers and labels that, sex sells, all kind of different things. But for me, I felt is as long as you got good music, as long as you're marketable, that's pretty much what matters. But Cardi even said today, Cardi was like, it's so hard for females to really gain their respect. What is your take on that?
Well, one, I think there's a lot of different ways to be sexy. And that all depends on, like what you said. You said that people say if you don't show all your skin.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways to be sexy and be creative with that. So that remains to be seen, because I mean, it can't go any more naked than it already
Right,
is.
exactly.
So something's gonna happen. Now,
right,
now
exactly.
All right, we did that. Now, so
exactly.
Stay tuned. Like, let's see what happens after that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Right.
gonna evolve. I don't know what it's gonna be, but it's gonna evolve.
Yeah, I mean, and there are a lot of one hit wonders out there. There are a lot of female MCs now, more than I can say back in the day that were mainstream. There are a lot that are underground, that I learn about by doing my research. That still have that classic sound, that classic flow, such as yourself. And you have the mainstream that are, to me, they have one good record, and then everything else just is just something totally different. And then they disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember back in the day, it was almost the same formula, where you would see an artist and then they would disappear. You would not hear anything else from them anymore. And I don't know, I guess, like, for me, I just feel like history just seems to repeat itself, especially with the industry, of how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Especially of how we see, artists, and how they evolve, and then we don't see them anymore. We may hear the music, but we just don't see them physically anymore. So it's just something, as an artist myself, that where I see, though, I say, and I question about the industry so much, about how they can take in an artist, and then spit them out like nothing ever happened.
You know what? There's so many different variables with that, because people's lives, their real lives, play a part. Like, just watching Unsung, like, you wouldn't
Yes.
wow, I didn't know. Imagine if they did Unsung for, like, the, like you said, the one hit wonders, the people that
Yes.
they did for a lot of the bigger groups, but what if they, because everyone has a story. There's some people that got in and did a one song and said, yo, I don't like this kind of thing. Like, it's too much for me. I don't like this. There's so many different reasons why, you no longer hear from artists. And like you said, it could be the business end, or it could be a personal end.
Right.
A female could, meet a husband and be like, well, this is what I'm doing. So
Exactly. So let's jump to 1995.
Mm-hmm.
And 1995, What's Up, Star, which is another one of my favorites from you. And okay, so like when I first heard it, it had that rough, edgy, sound that reminds me a lot of Mr. Cheeks from the Lost Boys, the flow. And it was just something or whatsoever that I felt like it was during that time. It was a upbeat party song. There was so much going on at that time, when that song dropped. What was the inspiration for that? Because during that time, hip hop again was changing. So what was the inspiration for that song?
Well, at that time, it was funny because it was like I was walking around saying that to people, like what's that
Oh
song?
wow.
You know what I mean? So and I was talking to somebody at the time, and we at the bar, and it's just like I'm looking like sometimes girls will buy guys drinks too,
Right, right, right.
and and if I like you, or or I would send a drink across the bar and he'd be on the other side of the bar, and I'm like, yo, that's what's up too, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
So the inspiration for the song came from there. So I got with Derek Angeletti, D Dot, and we put the music together for that, and yeah, just put that song together.
Yeah,
And
I mean I loved it. I loved it because, and that was one thing that I loved about you, is the fact that you were not reluctant to express yourself. You told stories from a female perspective that a lot of females were scared to talk about. And that's that's the thing that I do love about a lot of the pioneers of hip hop, because you all spoke empowerment. You all spoke lyrics of speaking from a female's perspective, like, yeah, men do it, but we can do it too. We can do the same thing.
yeah,
So yeah, I love it. I mean, I loved it, and that's the main thing that I always loved about you, is that you were not afraid to take it there. So definitely, yeah, I love it. I love it. Now, fast forward into 2021, the new single that was dropped, I Ain't Doing Love. So
hmm
I had the opportunity to hear it, and it's speaking from a whole different perspective. And I do want to get your partake on that, because with that song, what was the inspiration for you to write a song such as that? Speaking of females, of what we go through, especially in love, so many things. So what was the inspiration behind that as well?
well, for I Ain't Doing Love, it was like just like working on a reset,
Gotcha.
like I know that everybody, in one point or another in their life has gone through that and say, you know what, let me
Yes.
back up for a minute. Let me
Yes.
say, I'm not doing this,
Hmm.
I do, I've done all these things, and like, wait a minute, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's kind of like where that song came from. It was, I work with Pudgy, the Fat Bastard, and we put that together, and he's amazing. He's amazing. And I'm excited for everyone to hear all
Yeah.
of the music that we created together. I'm so excited. I
Yeah,
really
I mean, me too, because it's long overdue. We need more of that, especially with females. Like, speaking to a lot of the things, a lot of the music that's out now. It's, to me, I just feel it's just not. It's relatable, but it's on a different, I say, caliber of relatable, because of course people talk about things and what they went through. But for me, being old school, I would rather hear something that is relatable, something that I can identify with myself, of things that you've gone through, that touches your spirit, that speaks to your soul. That's my definition of hip hop. Something that, that speaks to you, that's timeless, that's classic, that 10, 15 years from now people are still spinning your record. It's not something that's just fly by night. And
right.
that, again, your music is classic, it's timeless, people still listen to it.
Mhm.
So like when I heard the new record, I was like, yeah, that's dope. And I'm glad that we're actually hearing more music from you. And that leads to my next question: what is Sweet Tea doing now? What is she listening to now?
I listen to it all. I listen to it all. I really listen to it all. I love Doja Cat. I love
Yes.
Big Lotto. I love, there's a lot of MCs. Like, I'll just get on the internet and just go for it. And spend
Yeah.
3 hours and, picking out new favorite songs. Like I'm not close to hearing what's out there, you know what I mean? And, because I experience a lot of people around me
Yeah.
that, say, oh, we got to get back to the old stuff, and I'm like,
Hmm.
are you even listening? You know what I mean? There's a lot
Right.
of good music out there, a lot of good music.
Right.
And
And I remember Prince used to say that he would hardly ever listen to the radio.
mhm.
And I guess because
You
of,
said
of
who?
Prince.
Okay,
So
yeah.
yeah, that he would hardly ever listen to the radio. And I guess it was maybe due to his creativity. Um, and I guess at that, like you said, like it's great to listen to others. I love listening to others.
Yeah.
Music, because sometimes you gain inspiration from some of the new school, and you're able to hear what they're doing as well, and take that perspective and create new things or create something different than what you hear. And like, I love Doja Cat too. I think Doja Cat is dope.
She is so.
Yeah, she's very versatile, and I think they give, I feel that they do give us females a hard time, especially when we're trying to be creative. um
Mhm.
and I see it a lot that happens in so many different genres, not just hip hop in general, but so many different genres where they just give us as females, a hard time. And I'm glad to hear you state that, in your experience, you've never really experienced the negativity part, because I can remember, it's always some chaos. You always have bloggers, or you always have some chaos, where they try to put two females, if it's two female MCs, two R&B divas against each other to create a controversy. And it's not really about that. You later find out that these individuals or these two artists loved each other. There was
Mhm.
never no beef. There was never any controversy at all. And that's why, I always go back and reflect back to that class of 1998, 1988 photo of you all, because it was all love. It was like nobody was competing with anybody. It was just that photo shows so much empowerment. And it speaks volumes to where it's like, hey, we're all doing the same thing, but we're all, coming together as one, as pioneers of hip hop.
Now, there was little beats here and there because people are people, but like,
Right.
but, but to this day, people come up and say, "Yeah, I remember when you and MC Light had that battle." I'm like, "Man, MC Light never had a battle. I don't even know what you're talking
See, and
about."
see,
Like,
that's what I'm
I,
saying.
I personally never went on the records back and forth with, and it's, and you're right, it's males that usually say that to but
Exactly. And there was never a beef. And that's why I say to myself, like, it's I think sometimes the industry create these false tales to just create a buzz. And I understand it for media purposes, but at the same time, when you may have, like you said, you may have little beefs here and there, but it's not to that caliber. So it's just one of those things. And even with, there were so many things back then and so many things that we see now. And again, it just goes back to say, like, history really repeats itself, especially in the industry when they're trying to create things just to create a buzz. And sometimes you have artists that falls into that trap, and it's really not, to me, I don't think it's a great thing. But you have some artists that do fall into the hype to where they think that, oh, well, this, she's hating on me, or this, that, and the third. It's not even that at all. It's just something that was just made up. So yeah, I mean, it's just something that was just interesting to me as well. But one thing that I do want to ask is, if you could talk to the younger Sweet Tea, what would you tell her?
um I think that because I didn't know the business part of music,
Mm,
because it was new, I would say that I wish you'd have paid more attention or tried to push harder to understand the business end of what was happening to you.
mm-hmm.
You know? So I wish that if I could have told her that, then things could have been a little bit different, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I know that, you went on tour at very, very young. And I know that that experience must have been, a great experience for you, as well, coming up into, hip hop, and then also coming into your own as an artist.
Hmm.
That tour life. I mean, we hear so many stories about tour life and how tour life can be, how it can be exhausting. Being on tour, how has that contributed to, your style as well?
Going on tour was, I mean, you got to experience the country. Like, for
Mm,
all right, we didn't have the internet, you know?
yeah,
So,
right.
you went to other states and found out what it was when you got there.
Exactly.
So, like for instance, me and Slick Rick, we had a show. I forgot where it was, but Slick Rick wasn't headlining. It was like, wait a minute, why is he not? Who is this guy? Who is this guy?
Right,
You know,
right.
headlining the show. So we get there, everything is good, and um, it was Easy E. So I went on,
Wow.
and he went on, and then for me, when Easy E came out and was like, bitch, better have my money, and the
Exactly.
whole, and the whole place just rained. You
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, who is this? Like,
Uh-huh.
so it was like that was our way of seeing the world, experiencing hip hop, experience other states, experience seeing what their experience is with hip hop. Moving
Right, right.
right now, it's just right. You just click on your computer now, but that's not what it was then. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So
Right, exactly. You're
and
you're exactly right.
And,
Yeah. And
and for us, we had like, you had your show outfits. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Right now, there's no such thing as show outfits because once you wear something once on stage, you either give it away or throw it away or wear it to the store or around the way because you can't wear it again because
see?
everybody's filming you and posting it, you
You,
know?
you know what? And a couple shows ago, I discussed the same thing about the show outfits. The show outfits that you
Yeah.
receive. Because you can't wear it again, like you said. And a lot of people do not know what goes on behind the scenes, especially when you're on tours, when you're doing photo shoots. That some of that stuff is rented. Some of that stuff you don't really get to keep. But for the pioneers, I mean, you guys were very creative, because it was just, when you learned the behind the scenes, with some of the things where, some of the outfits were made, some of the things where you all came up with your style yourself. You didn't really have a stylist, but it's like you came up with your style, and things like that yourself. So
Yeah.
it was very creative.
On a smooth
Very.
tip. So
Yes.
the day before, like I had no idea what to put on. And I was like, like not the day before, but like that week. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, what am I gonna wear? So, I called Shirt Kings. I said, listen, just spray sweet on the jeans and
Uh,
take up the jeans. Now,
yes,
had I known that I created something,
you
you put
did.
the secret with the name on the ass of your
You
clothes.
did. Yes.
Had I known and ran with that, like I didn't even know I created a style. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I just like graffiti up some jeans. I cut off the sweatshirt, and
Yep.
I was like, all right, so because we supposed to look, and
Uh-huh.
do it together. Like, yeah, just throw your creativity in the air and just come up with something,
And and that lasted, I know, all the way up until the early 90s. And that trend, I can remember, like, so many people had, the jeans, the jackets that were just like that, even the t-shirts. And it was, I mean, everybody had to have one. Everybody had to have one. And so that, that whole trend, that whole style, was just something that back in that time, I liked it. It was very easy, very simple. Just like you said, if you would have known that you was gonna set a trend, but I mean, it lasted for a very long time. And I remember we used to go to Myrtle Beach, and Myrtle Beach would actually do that, for you, like on site. And because where I'm from in South Carolina, we didn't really have, so many places that could do that. So you could either go to Florence or you go to Myrtle Beach, and they could actually do that for you. So
When you
everybody
talk
had to
about
have
like a
everybody have a
joint,
shirt.
you talk about
Yes. Uh
yeah, but
huh.
see, I'm specifically talking about the suite written across the ass of the jeans,
Yeah.
and everybody, and then Victoria's Secret, everybody with the names across the ass. Like if I
Yeah.
known about the name across the ass and ran with that, you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
The city was, they were doing a good thing, but I'm specifically talking about the name across the ass. You know,
Yeah, yeah, and I mean and I do see that style, that whole thing coming back again too, because you like you said, they do have that across the ass, where you have your name, or if you have a word on,
well, the brand
yeah,
names for baby, all of that. I mean, across the ass, and I'm like, that,
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
I should have like ran with it, but
I
you don't.
know, right? I know,
Mhm.
I
You
know,
know.
I know. Awesome,
Mhm.
awesome. But definitely, definitely, it's great to talk to you. I'm so excited to hear, your new music. But tell us, when can we expect the catalog, the new music, and where can everyone, reach you on your social media?
Well, on my social media, on all platforms, it's Sweet Tea, the MC. So you can just reach me, on any of those platforms. They're all the same. Um, and right now we had a single that we're working on. We had to get it reconstructed and remixed, and like I just got a call tonight, like, yo, I think we got it, so I was so
Yay!
happy about that. So I was talking with Kevin, and
Yeah!
he said I'm about to blast it now to see if it, so because Track Masters came to the rescue.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, Trackmasters is the bomb.
Frankie,
They have been around for a long time.
yes,
Yeah,
Frankie came through and just, he worked on the song to get it where it needed to be.
yeah,
And so hopefully in the next month or so we should be like dropping a couple of songs. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that. We were just
yeah,
waiting on that because we were set, and then we realized it was an issue with the music.
yeah. Okay.
So
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm excited. I can't wait. Shouts out to Kev. Kev is my boy. I love Kevin to death. Yeah, yeah, Kevin.
mhm.
Yeah, 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 definitely, definitely. But thank you so much, Sweet Tea, for coming on and joining me tonight and having this conversation. And I can't thank you enough for joining me tonight as well, and sharing your story and for us to see what you're up to. So thank you again so 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 very much for coming on tonight.
Thank you, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Yes, definitely.
When everything is ready to drop. Hopefully, we'll get back on the air, kick it a little bit.
Yes.
All right, brown
Yes.
skin. All right, brown skin.
Yeah, yes. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You guys, this has been another edition of Industry Conversations 101. Shouts out to Preston Magazine for sponsoring Industry Conversations 101. I'm your girl Nisha signing off with my girl Sweet Tea. We'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye bye.